Hey guys, happy Thursday afternoon, June 23rd, 2022. So, what a last week to 10 days we've experienced here in housing economy, in the general economy, I think, and in the world in general. Lots of interesting headlines, and I just wanted to touch on a couple. We've had the headlines on home listing price reductions. We've had headlines on obviously inflation, what's going on with interest rates. We've also seen record price appreciation just come out this week from last month. So lots of different information. Number of sales declining. Lots of information that's just interesting. And I wanted to just put my interpretive spin or shed some light how I see things. As well as a little bit of maybe a bold prediction on what I think is going to happen as we move into the end of summer and fall. And so I'm going to share my screen. Headline kind of gives away a little bit of what's of how I see things. Home price deceleration doesn't mean home price depreciation. And so I go into detail here a little bit on the differences of those three terms that I use, as well as what kind of appreciation we've seen now for the last 10 years nationally. Not every region of the country has seen appreciation for the last 10 years, but nationally we've seen appreciation. And then I move into the predictions on what 7 of the leading expert indicators are predicting for home price appreciation as we move for the balance of 2022. And if you saw my short video earlier today, I summarized where this number is going to average out at almost 9% appreciation. So, and then kind of like concluding. I'm not going to go in detail in all this. I'll let you guys, I included the link here in the description so you can go through and check it out. What I do want to touch on is just a little bit as to how we got here, what we're dealing with, and where I see us going as we move through the balance of this year. So what's going on right now, right? We've had record home price appreciation these last couple of years. And how we've seen that happen is, and there's also obviously this talk about inflation. What does that really mean? Other than we recognize we're spending massive amounts of money, more money than we ever imagined on a lot of the things that we're accustomed to in our lives, not just real estate exclusive. And so, we've gone through the last few years. The Fed policy on stimulation has been massively aggressive since the pandemic happened. By the way, we already were in a state of momentum and a growing economy and growing housing prices even before that. But then all of a sudden the pandemic comes along, Fed policy gets wildly aggressive with the two ways that they can impact and stimulate an economy, one of which is by creating essentially capital. And that's exactly what they did. Massively aggressive policy towards injecting cash into the economy by way of both business loans that were forgivable, as well as unemployment benefits, and then straight up stimulus checks that were sent out. Hundreds of millions of dollars that were spent over a period of time and injected into the economy. At the same time, they lowered federal lending rates, creating an incredibly inexpensive credit environment where lending became wildly aggressive as well. And so everybody borrowed. Businesses borrowed to expand. New businesses were created. People borrowed to buy houses, bigger houses, more houses, investors, etc. So just a wildly both inexpensive and aggressive environment to extend credit and loan. And so those two things combined created a spending period unlike anything we've almost ever seen. Hence, more spending. We end up with ultimately supply issues. We saw it very prevalent in housing. We saw it in other areas of the economy as well. And when spending hits historic highs and supplies are low, ultimately we end up with rising prices, hence inflation. So now we're at a point where we have massive inflation, unlike we've ever seen. Fed policy right now is on an absolute fast track again, unlike we've maybe ever seen, to hit that inflection point to get people to slow down with spending so that we can control some of these supply chain issues and control some of the overall cost of goods, which is ultimately being impacted. Again, housing falling in that cost of goods segment. And so what we're seeing right now is with this latest, much more aggressive uptick in lending policies because they're not curbing inflation as fast as hoped or suspected, right? Fed outlined a very aggressive plan. And so right now they are, again, making a beeline to find that inflection point. As a real estate broker now, my observation is we're not at that inflection point, right? We saw rates just crack 6% on a consumer front last week. From what I've seen, dropped a little bit since then, but they're in that high, middle high five range. In my experience, in my observation, we have not hit that inflection point yet, meaning the mass number of buyers, while the market has slowed down in terms of transactions, the mass number of buyers are not slowing down because of an affordability issue. They're not slowing down because their debt to income ratio is no longer qualifying them to buy the home they want to buy. In some cases, yeah, some people are getting priced a little bit out of the market, but the far masses are not reacting in that way. They're not seeing that reaction. Instead, they're making almost visceral type reactions of just shock because this all happened so quickly, so fast. We still have rising home prices. Now, all of a sudden, these rising interest rates are causing people to just take a step back and say, wow, this is crazy. Is this going to last forever? Are interest rates going to get lower? What's going to happen? I'm just putting the brakes on and seeing. And for that reason, right, we're not seeing, there still is some demand in the market. We're not seeing the overall impact just yet that the Fed is looking for. And so for those reasons, they outlined a very aggressive plan moving further through summer and into fall. When I say that it's not the inflection point that the Fed's looking for, it just dawned on me earlier today. I was thinking it was almost like gas prices, right? If I turn back the clock last year, it would cost me approximately, I don't know, $45, $48 to fill up my car tank of gas. Today it costs like $88. And so what's the inflection point? Is the inflection point of filling it up to $88 going to cause me to not put gas in my car anymore? Right? And just you're going to see me pedaling around my bike everywhere because I just don't want to spend money on gas? Not yet. And so that's exactly what we're experiencing in housing and many other areas of the economy too. People just aren't slowing down. They're still spending. It's not an affordability issue. Now, we may revisit this conversation in September. You may see me pedaling around on the bicycle every day because I don't want to put gas in my car at whatever prices we end up seeing in September. But as of right now today, don't feel as though we are at that inflection point where people are stopping and pausing as much as they are. I think the demand is still super strong. We're seeing it with listings that are coming onto the market and selling. What we're not seeing, or what we are seeing an end to, is some of the crazy pricing, the inspired pricing of listings that we've seen so far in 2022, because we just don't see the same demand that's meeting it, right? There's been a little bit of a slowdown or a softening in some of that demand. So the prices are not, and that's what I mean by, deceleration, not depreciation, right? A little bit of a slowdown in some of that inspired pricing while things start to balance out. My feeling is if you're waiting for lower interest rates, time is not going to be on your side. I think we're going to see things get higher before they get better. And I think we're going to see them get higher relatively soon. That's kind of my take, right? Are home prices going to decline? I don't believe so. I don't see any indication in the market that would support home prices declining, simply not rising at the same rate we've seen them for these last 2 years. And that's going to be the important, factor as we move forward. So again, any questions on this or what your plans are or how they apply to your plans, please don't hesitate to reach out. I hope that the information I can provide can be the most valuable that you are seeing. In addition, I said this earlier, and I'm very clear in my mind around this, going to be very dynamically different in different regions of the country. So if there's an area that you're considering or you have questions about, again, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to, would be excited to have the opportunity to help. Hope this is helpful. Check out the link for the rest of that post, for the rest of the details in that article, and have a fun and exciting rest of your Thursday. I'll see you soon.